Hey everybody. It's Nikos once again, talking from the land of wherever this is. So I was motivated today to just make a little video on truth. It seems that, and I'm actually tailing this towards the recovery community, so I'm not going to post this on my regular page, but just post it within recovery community stuff, because really what it seems, though, is that this entire journey of the 12 steps is coming into this thing called spiritual awakening. And when we spiritually awaken, we awaken out of our egoic understanding, our egoic idea, our egoic construct, our egoic beliefs, our egoic ideas of reality. We awaken into reality. And reality is one of those things that it doesn't need a belief system. It doesn't need thought. It doesn't require pre-planning. It doesn't require a negotiation. It just requires us to be fully present right here, right now. The only place that reality is happening, where the truth of reality is actually happening, is right here. It's not happening in 5 minutes from now. It's not happening yesterday. It's not happening tomorrow. It's happening right now. And the only way that I can know what it is to do is to listen to my internal core that tells me what to do right now. And life is a series of nows. Now, right? So it's a constant state of nowness. But it's always sort of unfolding, and I get new intuitive direction for each particular now. Steps 1, 2, and 3. I'm powerless. I'm willing to believe that something can restore me back to sanity. And sanity for me just means that I'm able to see the true from the false, the actual from the fictitious mental image, the truth of reality. And I can live in the truth of reality. And step 3, I make a decision to turn my will in my life. My will is my thoughts, all of my thought life. My will in my life, and, well, your life is kind of everything else. It's all of your actions. So your thoughts and your actions, you are, in the third step, you're actually basically giving them up. You're saying, okay, the Nikos that thinks that it knows what's best to do, or what it shouldn't do, or what it ought to do, or what it ought not to do, I'm going to actually forego that thinking process and start to follow my intuition. Now, my intuition is blocked. It talks about, the reason we do the steps 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 is to face and be rid of the things that are blocking us, right? What is it blocking us from? Well, it's blocking us from our intuition, from our God-given direction, right? So the way the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, talks to me is through intuition. And it's very, do this, don't do that, walk away, say you're sorry, clean up your mess. And if it's very important, it says now. And so, you gotta get on it right away. So step 4 is a way of making an inventory. I basically make a map work. I make a framework of how it is that I interact with the world around me. I make an actual, a written assessment of how I negotiate the world, how this idea of Nikos, this thought of Nikos, how it interacts with the world. And I actually find out that it's actually usually in collision with reality. It's trying to change reality. It's trying to alter. It's trying to not believe. It's trying to impact reality in a way for its benefit. And so what I see is that my problems are self-made. selfish, self-seeking, self-centered, self-delusional, self, right? So we think our problems are basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves. And the alcoholic is self will run riot. But ourselves is our ideas, our thoughts about the world, our thoughts about how things should or shouldn't be. That's where our problems arise from, right? So in the fourth step, I make an inventory of all these things, all the things that piss me off, of all the things sexually that I've done, of all the places that I'm fearful, all the things I'm very, very fearful in my life. This is where I learned a lot. In my fear inventory is where I really, really, really learned a lot about what runs the rest of my harms done, sexual inventory, and my resentments was in my fears. I see what it is that this particular thing, this self, how it has negotiated the world, right? That's my job is to make that map. In step 5, I become honest with myself about how I negotiate the world. I become honest with God, and that's kind of part of the process of when you get honest with another human being, your sponsor will hopefully, if you've got a good sponsor, he will help you fill in the blanks of the things that you were unable to see about yourself. Because if there's one thing self is unaware of, it is itself. So that's why it's really good to have a sponsor that's a very clear mirror. Somebody that can sort of shine back to you the bits about yourself that you can't see without the yuck of them. Without all of this nonsense of what they think and how they want and blah, blah, blah. They just simply reflect back the you that you could not see about yourself. Right? Inventory. Step 5, get honest. See even more. Step 6 is that place where, I become entirely ready to have God remove my defects of character. I got to see how I'm making my problems in the world. But now I have to become entirely ready to let them go. But it's not just the ones that I want or that I think or that I because that's all self-will. That's this crazy thing that's the idea maker. That's its job is to try to tell you what it thinks that you ought to do. That's not what this is about. This is about becoming entirely ready to let God remove the defects of character. And when you become entirely ready, you say a little prayer. My Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, the good and the bad, good, the bad, and the ugly. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character that stands in my way of my usefulness to you, God, and my fellow human beings. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. So really, what I'm doing is I'm making an inventory and I'm having a good look and I'm getting some outside input to see what's rest. I'm willing to change. I become actually willing to be somebody I have no idea who I'm going to, and then I pray for that to happen. Okay? And then at 8, I make a list of all the people that I'd wronged. Make a list of all those wrongs I need to go out and make it right. And then step 9, I go out and I make reparations. I actually attempt to set right all of the things which I have set wrong in my life. And so this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, the house cleaning steps, this part of the personal house cleaning, what it does is you face in the beginning, and by the time you get to 9, you are rid of all of this nonsense that is stuck in your head. In step 5, a lot of times, people get out their deepest, darkest secrets, stuff they wouldn't have told people before. All that stuff is just creating clutter. It's just clutter, 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 clutter. And all the things that you have done that have wronged that you can right, that's just more clutter. And all that stuff resides up here, and that keeps you from being able to listen to your God-given intuition. Right? So this is, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, this is enlightenment for dummies. Right? This is a way of attacking all of this stuff and being rid of it, totally getting rid of it, which then leaves you with this very clear, transparent space, which can hear your intuitive messages. Don't do that. Walk away. Say you're sorry. Go help her. Give that lady $5. Give it now. Okay. You get this very clear intuition of what to do next. I don't get intuition on what to do tomorrow. I don't get intuition on what to do next week. I only get intuition on what to do now. And it's very important that I don't actually, once I've given up, once in the third step, when I've turned my will and my life over, my thoughts and my actions to God, it's very important that I don't then replace these my will and my life with a new idea of what I think is right. Because we've already determined that what I think usually isn't a very good thing. In step 10, we get our will back. And in step 3, we give our will up. In step 10, we get our will back. But at this time, our will is aligned with God's will. There is no separation. There is no crazy, crazy, crazy that is separated from God's will. There is only one will, the will of God. Thy will be done, not mine. Mine is here, thy is here. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact, right? So if you have a relationship, let's just say, somebody you've met and you want to date, and you don't write, you don't call, you don't text, you don't stop by, you don't send cards, you don't send flowers. Say 6 months from now, then you call that person and say, hey, will you pay my rent? Guess what the answer is going to be? Fuck you. Yeah, that's it. No way. This is a relationship. You are building this relationship with this higher power. And the way that we build this relationship is through prayer and meditation. Prayer is the askance. Prayer is the please. Prayer is the willingness to change, to be able to listen to what God, the universe, is telling you. Meditation is the art of letting go. My personal idea of what meditation is, and there's lots of different ideas out there. My personal idea of what meditation is it's an investigation into what happens when nikos stops being a nikos. What happens when there is a cessation in this thing called nikos? What occurs? So in my morning meditation, I absolutely, completely relax and get into a deep state of listening. I listen with my entire being. This entire sensory apparatus, this body is a sensory apparatus. And you can listen with every sense that you have. You can actually listen. So what my morning practice is a practice on how to listen with the totality of all of my senses. It's a practice in the cessation of doing and the beginning of listening. So in prayer, I ask God, and in meditation, I let go and I learn how to listen. Then throughout the day, trust you me, I know if I'm very like, that's not a cessation. And then when I feel that, when I notice that, I just go, it's time for a little surrender break. If surrender has a look and a soundtrack, in my humble opinion, it would be that. It's just a stopping, a cessation of doing. Right? So, step 10, I get my will back because my will is now aligned with God's will. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact, praying only for knowledge of His will, right? Forget my will. knowledge of his will and the power to carry that out. And step 12, having had a spiritual awakening. This is the part that I'm amazed that people sort of don't really, my humble opinion, I don't hear this a lot in meetings. I don't hear people talking about this idea of what spiritual awakenedness really can be. The potential of how great this thing called spiritual awakening. If you're at all have any sort of Buddhist-y Eastern philosophy influence about enlightenment, this is available to you in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Enlightenment is 100% available to you if you do these steps. Having had a spiritual awakening, having woken up, having become enlightened, but as through the process of doing these steps, these 11 steps prior, we carry this message. What is the message of Alcoholics Anonymous? The message is if you too do these 11 steps prior to this, you too will have a spiritual awakening of an amazing, amazing, amazing state of grace if you follow the directions. Many people like to pick and choose. They like to take what they want and leave the rest. Cafeteria style AA. I'm sorry. In 1939, the book came out, The Steps and the Directions. The steps, if not followed by the directions as prescribed in the book, you will get what you get. There are over 150 promises in that book. Less than 15 of them have to do with the cessation of drinking or using drugs if you're a drug addict like me. Right? Less than 15 of the promises of the 150 promises has to do with the cessation of drugs or alcohol. That means there's like what? 135, I'm not a mathematician, more promises in the book that come true. Just read those 9-step promises. Not one of those 9-step promises has anything to do with the cessation of drinking or using drugs. It has to do with the change that occurs in the way that we interact, in the way that we negotiate the world. In the back of the book, in the spiritual experience, I'm paraphrasing here. I don't have my book in front of me, so sorry. Friends of the newcomer are often aware of the change long before he is himself, but sometimes he comes to realize he has undergone a profound alteration in his reaction to life. That to me is one of the most beautiful and succinct descriptions of what spiritual awakening is. It is a profound alteration in my reaction to life. Because life doesn't change. Life stays the same. I change. My perception changes. My reality changes. I go from a sense of belief and ideas and thoughts to just living in truth. Just living day to day, moment to moment, in truth. And in truth, living with intuitive response, I can meet truth with intuitive response. Meet truth with intuitive response. I don't need to know what's going to happen next. I don't need anything except this connection, which is the most important thing for me, is nurturing, fostering, and growing this connection. You know, it says in Bill's story, it says, there are certain trials and low spots ahead, but it's only because we perfect and enlarge our spiritual life. Right? So to perfect doesn't mean you get it perfect, right? It just means you are in process of perfecting. You are always moving forward. And enlarging means getting bigger, right? We claim spiritual progress, not spiritual perfection, right? Okay, so perfecting isn't perfection, just to know, okay? We claim spiritual progress. I like to see that I'm always in progress. I'm always in a state of growth. I'm no longer ever in a state of I know. The moment I think I know something, I'm in trouble. I have to always stay in the I don't know. I'm not sure. When people come to me and they ask me questions, I say, I'm just not sure. This is what I'm guided to say is blah blah blah, but I just don't know. I don't. I don't know what anyone else's walk is. I didn't even know what my own walk was. My walk has been crazy. It has been absolutely crazy. If looked at from the outside, even looked at from the inside, it's been crazy. But it has been a walk that has rewarded me with a spiritual awakening like I had never comprehended could attain within the context of Alcoholics Anonymous. It is 100% available right here, right now. It's about doing it, though. It's not just going to meetings. Going to meetings is great, but let me tell you what. It's a hell of a lot of meetings with a hell of a lot of people talk a hell of a lot of bullshit. Find good meetings. Find literature-based big book meetings where people are talking of their experiences, their direct experiences, and directly out of that book. The big speaker CNBC meetings where people are giving you Las Vegas fucking sobriety. Every now and then we need a good movie. Great. Go see it. But do not expect to get this spiritual awakening thing in those meetings. AA is not going to meetings. AA is sitting down and working with another alcoholic, or sitting down and working with your sponsor and doing the steps and doing the work. That is doing AA. Going to meetings and just don't drink in between, that ain't doing AA. That's just living a life of secular, boring something or other. I don't know what it is. It's not, but that's not doing AA, right? We go to meetings. The reason we go to meetings is so we can find a sponsor, someone that can guide us through these steps, somebody that'll take you line by line, word by word through this book and explain it to you in such a way that you completely comprehend it, right? We go to meetings in the beginning to find a sponsor, someone to guide us through this process. We have a spiritual awakening as a result of doing these steps, and then we go back to these meetings to become the sponsor, to become the person who is there, who has awoken, and who is there to help the person who is in need. Guess I had a lot to say about that. Yeah. You're more than help. Leave a comment if you like. This is my understanding of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is my understanding of spiritual awakening. If this does not resonate for you, please do not be offended. But if it does resonate for you, please take it to heart. Take it to heart. This is your life, and absolutely anything is possible for those that believe. It really is. Be well.